Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian, and I'm streaming to you from the Carpathian Basin. I hope everybody is having a good week, staying healthy, and staying strong. In this class, we are looking at task 2, writing a brand new question, and we're going to discuss how to plan to get those nice high band scores, write an original essay with a strong introduction. This is a members chat class. Welcome, Abhishek. Hi, Hassan. Of course, everybody is welcome to watch. To become a member, click the join button next to the subscribe button. If you don't see that, you can send me an email and I can give you some more instructions. My email, if you have any questions, is adrian@aehelp.com. Hi, Victor. Hi, David. Hi, Preeti, Nick Hill, Carolina, Beckjun, and Janil. Beckjun, if I'm not mistaken, you've done your exam. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let us know how that went, if you don't mind sharing. All right, everyone. So this class, as usual, is presented to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS learning. Definitely visit us at aehelp.com. Spend a few dollars, join the premium package, do yourself a favor, and use the materials there. Fantastic, Beckjan. I hope it went well. And for general IELTS, check us out at gieltshelp.com. And again, join the premium package there. I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. This is the academic, aehelp.com. You can click that big red button to join there. And this is the general with the green background at gieltshelp.com, and you can click that big red button to join us there. Good. We've got lots of members in the class. Fantastic. All right, everyone. Of course, we have apps that link with our web portals. Academic IELTS Help app links to aehelp.com. General IELTS Help app links to gieltshelp.com. So make sure to install those if you don't have them. All right. Lots of members. That's great. I got kind of an interesting task 2 question for the day. Task 2 is very similar in the academic and general versions of the exam. So it's suitable for both versions. Here we go, students. So let's take a look at today's question and let's work through it. All right. First steps first, read the question carefully. So here we go. IELTS Task 2 writing. You should spend about 40 minutes on this task. Practice that timing so you don't stress during the exam. You have a good feeling of how much time has lapsed. Okay, and then here we go. People often believe information in the media, such as news broadcasts and newspaper articles, without question. What are the advantages and disadvantages of this? And give your own opinion. Write at least 250 words. Okay. All right, so step by step then, we've read the question. If you're not exactly sure what the question is asking, maybe read it one more time. If you think you have a good idea, what should you do next? So you've read the question, and what should you do next? So what should you do after you read the question? And this is something you should practice at home every single time you work through a task 2. And I highly recommend taking a minute to do this in the official exam as well. Yeah, it's paraphrasing. That's right, Abhishek. So you always want to paraphrase the question. Why do you want to do that? So why do you want to paraphrase the question? So before you begin to write, paraphrase the question. Why is it so important to do that? Abhishek says, well, you get more vocabulary and you can understand the question perfectly. Beckjan says to understand it clearly. Absolutely. I say this time and time again, but I cannot say it enough. One of the most common mistakes in the IELTS exam writing section, especially for students, candidates that have good English is they are writing off topic or they do not completely answer the question. And I can tell always in the essays, and the examiners can tell that the student didn't pay enough attention to the question. So by paraphrasing this, the question, you make sure that you really do understand it, and you keep focused on the idea. So yeah, so this way you are more certain that you understand the question, and it helps to stay focused on the question when writing. Okay? Absolutely. And then there are some other reasons that some of you said, like good vocabulary. It helps you gather some useful words that you can use in your essay. Helps you to think about your answer or start thinking about your answer already. So definitely. Now, is it enough for the introduction to just paraphrase the question? I've seen a lot of instructions online, and I've seen a lot of students do this, where their introductory paragraph is basically a paraphrase of the question, and then they write something like, this essay will discuss the benefits and demerits of believing in the media, and I will include my own opinion. So is that kind of an introduction acceptable? So Rajveer says, no, it's a bad idea. Yeah, I mean, it's acceptable, but it's a bad idea. Why is it a bad idea? So why is it a bad idea to just paraphrase and say, I will write about this? What's not good about that? Why doesn't that kind of an introduction get the higher band scores? So Victor says, because it's unclear. Yeah, it doesn't really, you're right, Victor, it doesn't really give your reader any valuable information about that question, right? Exactly. Welcome, Mahi. Yeah, it doesn't guide the reader. Exactly. So there's no real value in it, okay? And it's kind of a template. The IELTS examiners see thousands of those kinds of introductions, and as soon as they see it, they start thinking 6.5, 6.5. It's like if the candidate is going to be mechanical and unoriginal, the examiner is going to be unoriginal and mechanical. So if I write an introduction that's just a paraphrase and this essay will discuss, the examiner will say, fine, 6.5 or 6, as long as it's a perfect essay. Okay, so there's easier ways to get a high band score. Good. Okay. All right. Let's do this. Paraphrase this question for me. People often believe information in the media, such as news broadcasts, newspaper articles, without question. What are the advantages and disadvantages? Now, one way to paraphrase is you're going word by word, like individuals, frequently. Okay, so word by word. Another way, and once you're good or you feel that you are, improving and fluent in English, try to paraphrase by thinking of the whole idea and then not necessarily going word by word, but doing kind of a general paraphrase of your own interpretation. Okay, that's kind of the next level of paraphrasing, and you should always be striving or reaching for that level of paraphrasing where rather than going word by word, you're thinking of the entire idea and then interpreting it in your own words, at the same time staying accurate to the details. Is everybody clear on that, what I just said there? So when you start your paraphrasing and you're improving, go word by word, or if you get stuck, go word by word. Once you feel more confident, really try to read a whole sentence or couple sentences and then interpret and paraphrase with your own words without necessarily sequencing. Okay, everybody got that? So it's good to do that. Okay, Carolina says, yes with the heart. Thank you. All right. So let's take a look at some of these paraphrases. David says individuals generally rely on data found in the media, like articles in newspapers, TV programs, and news on the radio, without judging the veracity and origin of such information. David, that is a very nice paraphrase. That's the kind of interpretive paraphrasing that I'm talking about. Well done, David. Good job. What are the benefits and negatives of this phenomenon? And give your own opinion. Right, David? And what's my opinion? Okay, good. Carolina says individuals often accept the information in the media, such as news broadcasts and newspaper articles, without asking if it's true or not. What are the pros and cons of this? And give your own thoughts. Okay, that works, Carolina. That's a nice, subtle, and exact paraphrase. I like it. Victor says individuals frequently think that mass media information as broadcasts and journals are without question, are without flaw. So Victor, I would change the word questions to flaw, without flaw. What are the positives and negatives of this trend? Give your own idea. Rajveer says individuals frequently trust the information published in the media, such as news broadcasts and newspaper articles, without raising any concern. Very nice paraphrasing, Rajveer. What are the pros and cons of this phenomenon? And state your position. Well done. That's a beautiful, beautiful paraphrase, Rajveer. Really nice. Individuals frequently ascertain that the information in the means of mass communication, like publishing and internet articles, are factual. Let's get rid of that without question. Okay, so are factual. Fact, factual. Another way to say it's the truth. What are the drawbacks and merits of this? And state your position. Very good. Okay. Janelle, certain individuals think that all the data in the media, such as news reports and magazines, statements, are fact. What are the benefits and deficits? Yeah, sure. So individuals accept, or let's go frequently, accept the information given in mass media, on TV, and in publishings as the objective truth, and do not question its reliability. What are the pros and cons of this attitude? And state your own thoughts on this. Okay, good. All right, so that's my paraphrase. Yeah, one of the words that comes to my mind when I read this right away is the word objective truth, right? Hopefully some of you thought about that as well. So objective truth, subjective truth, those kinds of words coming into our thoughts. Okay, great. So now the next step, and I think a couple of you said this a little bit early. What's the next step here? So where do we go from here? We've got a good paraphrase. And we have lots of members in here today, so I won't be able to read all of your responses to every question I ask, but please do give them. I will try to rotate with different people for different questions so that everybody gets at least a bit of feedback from me, okay? But importantly, even if I don't read it, I still often will catch a glimpse of it. So I might reference or refer to it later. Also, it's great practice for you, so keep going, okay? All right, so everybody, Rajveer, Victor, Abhishek, Jainil, Hassan, you're all on the same page. You're saying topic, controlling idea. Yeah, very important. So identify the topic. Never start writing a paper without knowing exactly what the topic is, because that's just silly. You could be writing about a different topic, and that's not going to fare well by any means. So identify the topic and controlling ideas, okay? And there's actually a lot of, so, we focus on IELTS preparation, but for those of you going into university and studying abroad, I highly, highly recommend doing some research online and just looking at some practice materials for identifying the topic and controlling ideas. I'm sure that if you search the internet, ask Mother Google, for how to identify topic and controlling ideas of essay questions or exercises identifying topic and controlling idea of essay questions. I'm sure that you'll find lots and lots of materials online for that. Okay, so identify the topic and the controlling ideas. Yeah, definitely. That's what we want to do. So what's the topic here? What are we talking about? That's what you have to think about, is what are we talking about, right? So David says the topic is the information in the media. Rajveer says people often trust information available in the media. Information in the media? Okay, I think you can simplify it, so keep it concise. Some of you have half the topic. Some of you are a little bit off topic. So Bekchan says media. Abhishek says media information, mass media objectivity. Hassan, I think you're the closest so far. Nick Hill says information given in the media. Romain, very good. Romain says reliability of media. Yeah, I agree. That would be the topic. So trust in the media. Okay, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about people's trust in the media. Or another way to say it, so there's a few different ways. You're basically paraphrasing the topic. What Romain said, reliability. Of media. And we're talking about mass media, so we don't have to spell that out, but that's what we're talking about specifically. Okay, we're talking about media. More specifically, we're talking about the reliability of the media. Okay, and from what aspect? So when you're thinking about the controlling idea, what you want to ask yourself is, what about the reliability of the media? So what's the controlling idea here? Okay, so what about it? What about the reliability of the media? Okay. So Carolina says, people believing without question. Yeah, Carolina, that's almost there. Yeah, Hassan says, trusting media without question is good or a bad thing. Exactly, and then our opinion will become part of that. Yeah, so the good and the bad of trusting media without question. And you don't have to write this in there, but including my opinion. So keep that in mind, okay? That's just part of it, because your opinion will be either one or the other, or maybe some other element. Okay, good. All right. Okay, so let's go through a couple of our critical thinking steps in this case. So what's the first question that we would want to ask? And again, for a lot of people, that watch these lessons, they say, oh, well, this is slow and I don't have time for this in the IELTS exam. It's absolutely not true. When you practice this, it becomes quite fast and you save a lot of time. Just for kind of out of my curiosity, Bekjan, I know you did a lot of practice before you sat the IELTS exam. Did you do this during the IELTS exam that you just had, I think like a week ago, right? So did you go through these steps when you got to this task 2? Do you remember your question? I'm really, really curious. And then I'll check out what everybody's writing there. I can see that, most of you have the right thing. But I want to include some real life experience here. So if you don't mind sharing, Bekjan, let us know what happened. So did you do this, and did it help? So did you still have enough time? Were you able to finish your task 2 essay? Okay, so Bekjan says the question was about a gift. Yeah, and you did do this. And did it help, Begjun? Did it help you to develop a better essay? Do you feel that you wrote a better essay because you went through these steps? So Begjun says, yeah, I finished it. Yeah, feedback is really important. Students, everybody wins when we have real life feedback. I mean, I can give you a lot of information in these classes, but of course, real life experience is potentially the greatest teacher of all, right? So Begjun says, yeah, absolutely. Okay, good. Thanks, Begjun. So that, makes my information reliable, and I'm always hoping it is. So thanks for confirming that, and thank you for sharing. Okay. All right. Very nice, Hassan. Hassan says humans can process 2,500 thoughts in a minute. I think we can do it quickly enough. Yeah, I agree. So controlling idea, good and the bad. Okay, so the what. Yeah, everybody's saying what. What is trust in the media information, says Abhishek. And you're right. So what is trust in media information? And it might seem like a silly question or an easy question, but don't assume that you know the answer before you ask yourself, okay? So we shouldn't even trust our own brains 100%. What is trust in the media information? So what does that mean? What does it mean that we trust the media information? How would you define that? So if I asked you, like, what does it mean that you trust the information in the media? What would you say to me as a response for that? So Hassan says people take what they hear or see in the news as granted information. Okay. Yeah, it's all right. Oh, it says it is the process when people believe the information that comes from media resources such as TV, internet, or newspaper. Yeah, okay. Try to be even a little bit more robotic, like even a little bit more scientific when you're giving these answers. So Begjun says relying on the information in the media, okay, relying on what they hear or read in the newspaper. Yeah. Okay. Victor says people believe the information without doubt that they see or hear in mass media. Maybe Hassan without using critical thinking, but that's not necessarily true. They might use critical thinking, some people, right? So what is trust in the media information? I would say it's accepting that the information shown in a media is exactly as it happened and is the factual truth, let's say. Okay, so it is empirical. Okay, everybody remembers that word empirical? Yeah, that would be a good word to remember in this case. Okay, so it is empirical. All right, why do people believe the media to be true? So why do people hold mass media to be the truth? Okay, so why is that? Why would people say like, oh yeah, I saw it on TV, so it has to be true? Why do you think? And this goes back to the 4 sources of knowledge that I discussed sometime in the past, and these are really good to think of. You would learn these in social sciences like psychology and sociology, the 4 sources of knowledge. So why do people hold mass media to be the truth? Abhishek says because it is observed, it's seen, right? We believe our eyes, right? Maksud says because it's official information. Yeah. So those are two of the truths or sources of knowledge. Because it is observed with our eyes, right? That's what empirical is. It is presented by experts, authority. Okay. And there's even one more. So the four sources of knowledge, this is an important piece of information for those of you who aren't familiar with it, is it is given by, or the same information is given by several sources. Everyone says it's true. So the reason why we tend to believe the media is because we see it. So we say, hey, look, there it is. It's happening. We forget that we're not actually directly seeing it, but we're indirectly seeing it. So we think that it's empirical. Arguably, it's not. It's presented by experts. Like when a doctor says that, hey, you have the COVID, then you must have the COVID because the doctor said it. So we tend to believe authority. If the media says it, if the expert politician on the media says that's the way it is, then we say, well, it's the expert. You got to believe him. And the other one is that you have the same information given by several sources. I saw it on TV, I read it in the newspaper, and I just heard it on the radio, and I read it in a blog on the internet, so it must be true. Everybody's saying the same information, right? So that's three of the sources of knowledge that we have in our world. The fourth one is intuition. That's where we just feel that something is true. And all the knowledge in the world that we ever learn is accepted through one or multiple of those means. The media is very powerful because it combines these three very effectively, right? Okay, that's just some more deep learning for everyone. So what's the next question? Here we have a very important question coming up. What's the next question to ask here? What is the right question? Carolina says, how? Carolina, Abhishek says that too. Give me the full question here. What do you mean, how? So Rajveer says, how do people trust the media? Yeah, okay. Here, if you're thinking about the answer to that, Rajveer or Bekjan, you realize that there might be a little bit of a better how question. So Victor says, how people trust mass media. I think we can add a little bit more to these questions to make it more accurate. I would ask the how question like this. How can we see? So this would be my question here. I think this would get me thinking a little bit more deeply and getting me some more valuable information to this. So how can people see that individuals trust the media without question? Okay. Rajveer says, how do media agencies make people believe the information? I think, Rajveer, that's a good question to ask as well. That could be another how question. I haven't often mentioned this, but you can ask multiple why and how questions as long as they're staying on topic, okay? So that's not a bad question, Rajveer. All right, so this is what I would ask here. How can people see? So how do we know this? How do we know that individuals trust the media without question? So Oa says because their mind is changing after they see or read the media items or articles. Yeah, anybody else? Some answers to that one? So how can people see that individuals trust the media without question? What else happens? Hassan says the media uses the fallacy of generalization so that people trust it easily. Yeah, I think, Hassan, that would answer Rajvir's question. Rajvir says people see it on social media. Ferdov says many individuals like the videos. Yeah, I agree. So that shows the support or belief. Carolina says everybody says and shares the same information. Yeah, so people share the information they get from the media with others and act according to its truth, right? So we'll behave according to what we see in the media. So a simple example, the weather forecast says that it will rain tomorrow, and you see everybody go out of their homes with an umbrella, right? Maybe it's still sunny, but everybody's waiting for the rain. Oops, we made a mistake, but now you have thousands of people walking around with umbrellas. Okay, so we act according to the information that we see because we believe that it's the truth. Okay, what are the advantages? So let's get into that. What are the advantages of believing in the media? There must be some. Otherwise, I'm sure we would have given up a long time ago, right? Media wouldn't be around if there wasn't some truth to it. So what's the advantage? What benefit do we get from checking the media? So Nick Hill says, well, we can be aware of the weather. Yeah, Rajvir, very good. So it helps us better plan our events. Bekjan says it helps us to be cautious. Nick Hill says conditions. Yeah, so helps us plan better. And optimize our experiences. Right? So we optimize our experiences. If I check the weather forecast and it says it's going to rain and I take my umbrella and it does rain, I avoid getting wet and I avoid catching a cold or the flu. So it helps me to experience the world a little bit better, more enjoyably because I'm aware of the situations, right? Okay. Good. Yeah. So I like how all of you picked up on that. Ferdov saying an umbrella with us when it's necessary or when it's needed. Yeah. By the way, now that some of you are thinking of this simple example of the weather forecast and the umbrella when it's raining, what kind of strategy did I use there to kind of quickly think about this question? And I've talked about this strategy before. So can somebody tell me what strategy I used there to think about this question, this task 2? Victor says visualizing. Yeah, it's part of visualizing. Very good, Rajvir. So Rajvir says it's bottom-up processing. So I'm thinking of a specific example. Yeah, and that's an important side note here for some of you that might be new. So in order to think of good ideas for task 2 essays, think up down as well as down up. Okay. What I mean by that is when people think up down, they think of believing in the media, taking it for granted, it's the truth. The media tells me that it's going to rain tomorrow, so I take my umbrella with me. Down up is I believe it's going to rain tomorrow because I saw it in the media, so I take my umbrella with me. I trust the media because they're experts. Okay, so don't just think from general to specific, but think from specific to general. Now, I know some of you know that, some of you it's kind of new. Yeah, Janeel's saying general to specific and specific to general. Exactly. Now, an important extra little point here is when you are thinking of specific to general, okay, always aim to come up with a simple example. Okay, so here it would be like weather forecast versus COVID-19, okay? COVID-19, it's a really popular topic in the media these days. There's a lot of clout around it, a lot of confusion. Some people don't know what to believe anymore about how dangerous it is or how many people have it or what's true, what's not true. So COVID-19 would seem to be a very good example for this question. Did any of you think about COVID-19 when I presented you with this question? So were some of you thinking like, yeah, okay, one of the topics these days that's really tough to figure out what's true and what's not true happening in the world is COVID-19. Did any of you think about that when you read this question? Ferdov says, sure, yeah, okay. So, yeah, and I mean, it's a workable example, right? Of course, it came into my mind as well. It's a workable example, but it's very complex. It's very murky. It's quite a tricky, quite a tough example, okay? And Rajveer says, yeah, it's a hot topic these days, of course, right? But don't get kind of, how should I say this, distracted or mesmerized by a hot topic or a popular topic. There might be another idea that's much more simple. And when you're in the IELTS exam, your goal is to get a band 8, band 9, or as high of a band as possible. And to do that, you want to think simple. You don't necessarily need to think of a hot topic that could be too complex. So here, the weather forecast and believing the weather forecast is a much more simple and elegant specific example for this question in a 250-word essay. Does everybody see that? So does everybody get what I'm saying? I would, if I thought about both of these, I would go, maybe I'll leave this for another day. The examiner will probably read a lot of this kind of information for these task 2s anyway, and I'll just stick with weather forecast here. I'm going to be able to express myself more clearly, accurately, and I think it's just going to be a better 250, 300-word essay. You see what I'm saying there? Okay, good. So everybody gets that. Perfect. Yeah. So keep your mind open. All right, keep your mind open. Okay. All right. So what are the negatives of believing in the media? Okay. So Janelle says it's easy to infiltrate negative information. Okay. Keep it simple. Lots of fake news. But what's negative about that, Carolina? So if we have fake news, what's bad about that? What's bad for the individual? Rajveer says it wastes people time and energy. Yeah, sure. Okay, so it can be a waste of time and energy. Yeah, and time and energy are very valuable for us. Absolutely. It's no small value there. Victor says people will be confused. Bekjan says confine people's activity. Yeah, so it can manipulate people. Yeah, absolutely. I can say it can manipulate people to suffer loss of time, health, finances, and Time, health, finances, and yeah, I think we can kind of coin everything under all of those. All right. So false information can manipulate people to lose their time, lose their health, lose their money, right? So all of those, right? Cause damage. Okay. So what's your opinion? So what do you think? What should we do with this? Yeah, it can defame people. Absolutely. So what should we do with this? So should we believe? Should we not believe? What's the right attitude here? How would you include your opinion? Okay. It doesn't ask you which is greater, Bekjan. It just says, what is your opinion? So always take a look at the question here. It's a little bit trickier than that. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of this? And give your own opinion. Okay. So Carolina says, research before sharing information. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So Victor says, we should not believe very deeply. Janelle says, more pros than cons. It doesn't ask you which are more. It just says, what's your opinion, right? Okay. So Hassan says, believe the media, but only after questioning. Okay. Yeah. So my opinion would be always apply logical, critical thinking to information that you hear. Yeah. So always apply the same kind of critical thinking that we're practicing in these classes, right? So ask, what is this media? Why am I being presented this information? How am I being presented this information? And think deeply before you act. At the end of the day, we have to make decisions. We can't just sit in one spot idly and do nothing. That's even worse. But definitely before jumping to conclusions and believing it to be the truth, we want to think critically about it. Okay, so now we are ready for our thesis. All right, and let's get right into it. So here I have the advantages, disadvantages, my opinion, and I ask you to put together a thesis statement for me. Romain says, believe in the simple and basic information and question those which can have consequences in our personal life. I like it, Romain. I think that's a good opinion as well. So the everyday information, maybe just believe it, right? If it says it's going to rain tomorrow, then take an umbrella. But if there's some more complex information, like the stock market's crashing, sell all of your assets or whatever, you might want to think a little bit more deeply before taking action. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Ferdov says, watch the media, but before believing it to be the truth, think critically. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, give me some thesis statements. So taking all of these into consideration, try not to overcomplicate it. Keep in mind it's just 250 minimum. For high band scores, you're writing closer to 300. Okay, so especially for a question like this, it has 3 parts. Carolina says, nowadays individuals can find information in different platforms like newspapers and the internet. Some cons are that people do not confirm the veracity of this information, which could contain fake news. On the other hand, trustworthy media like well-known newspapers bring accurate and validated information to the public. Okay, and your opinion, Carolina, it's missing. So get that in there, okay? Hassan says, if I always apply critical thinking, this would be hard. For example, the prime minister died today. I would have to do a lot of research for many resources so that I can trust that info. Hassan, that's a good point, and I think that's why Romain said that basic information, and I as weird as this sounds, the Prime Minister died today, that would kind of fall under that basic information. Maybe just say, yeah, okay, that probably happened. It doesn't have necessarily a direct impact on my life per se, but anything that's going to have a drastic effect on my life, like COVID, right? Maybe do a bit more research on what it is, how it works, and where the sources are coming from. Okay, so good point, Hassan, and I think definitely that's what Romain was speaking about. All right. Ferdov says, although certain individuals ascertain that information in media is always true, I, however, believe that it is important to think critically before trusting it. Ferdov, that thesis is not accurate to the question. Okay, so this thesis should start with the advantages of relying on mass media as the factual truth is that people can better plan to optimize their experiences. However, the negatives are that they can be manipulated to. So that's kind of how it should look. Okay. Rajveer says the advantages of believing in mass media are better planning and experiences, and its disadvantages are loss of time, health, and finances. Yeah, Rajveer. Yeah, I didn't want you to really overcomplicate this. I just wanted you to take those answers and stick them together. When you go through these steps, that's what you should be doing. Rajveer says, in my opinion, people should think critically before trusting any information. Yeah, and if we take a recommendation from Romain, we could say especially information directly impacting our lives. Yeah, okay. Excuse me. My nose was twitching for a minute there. I was waiting for that sneeze. Okay. Beckjan says the main disadvantages of trusting information in the media, like news broadcasts and the internet, are loss of time and finances, whereas the merits, which are better planning and experiences. Yeah. Thank you, Carolina. Thank you, Maksud. Okay. David says, even though the advantages are clearly evident, because believing in such information can help us plan better and optimize our experiences, in my point of view, the disadvantages are more relevant since manipulation can affect people's thinking. That could work, David. Okay, you're taking a little bit of a different approach, but that could work. Okay, so the advantages of relying on mass media as the factual truth is that people can better plan to optimize their experiences. However, the negatives are that they can be manipulated into losing their time, money, and finances. I think that people should always apply critical thinking to news they hear in the media, especially when making important life decisions. Okay, great. So there's my thesis, and I just wanted to show you something a little bit different here. My thesis in this case are 3 sentences, okay? So I decided, hey, you know what? I'm just going to do it in 3 sentences, really have a clear approach to this essay. The advantages of relying on mass media as the factual truth is that people can better plan to optimize their experiences. However, the negatives are that they can be manipulated into losing their time, money, and finances. I could join this with a semicolon and a however, but you know what? It's totally fine like this. It's still considered band 9. I think that people should, and here I could maybe join it with an and, could start to be a bit of a run-on. but it's fine. 3 sentences. I think that people should always apply critical thinking to news they hear in the media, especially when making important life decisions. So I took a page from you there, Romaine. Okay, so with this thesis, it should be clear what we're going to do in the essay. Now, just a little bit of homework for tomorrow, members. Write the hook in the background. Okay, so I'll leave that to you this time, and then we'll start with the body paragraphs in tomorrow's class at this time. Okay, so I'll have a hook and a bit of a background. Because I have a nice long thesis here, I'm going to keep my hook and background fairly short. Okay, and then we'll start with, like I say, body paragraphs, and then working towards the conclusion. Everybody's doing a great job. I'm so very happy to see the improvement in the English, the communication, the thinking of many, many of our members. It's fantastic. It's really what motivates me to get up here day in and day out and teach these classes. It's fantastic. It really is. You're very welcome, Abhishek. For all of our viewers, you can join our premium packages at ahelp.com for academic IELTS and gieltshelp.com for general IELTS. And coming up in about 35 minutes, I will host a listening section lesson, parts 1 and parts 2, where everybody can join the chat. Thank you, David. Hopefully I'll see all of you soon. Bye for now. I'm Adrian, signing out momentarily from Budapest.